Okay, here we are at the ironing board. We've got our piece of bias that we've just cut, and we're making a 1/2 inch bias stem. So I've got my 1/2 inch bias tape maker. That measurement there at the skinny end is 1/2 inch. So you poke the end in the wide end of your bias tape maker and you just slide it in like that. Now if it gets stuck, there's a little groove in here, and I use a pin just to drag that through. See it? There we are. It comes out the end. Now, as it comes out the end, see how it folds the edges over? Bit tricky to see. See that? The edges are folding over. So basically it's doing the hard work of turning the edges and keeping it nice and even. And this is where your iron comes into play. And you're going to chase the bias tape maker just like that. Can you see that there, Tilly? You've got that? That's terrific. And you just chase it down and the edges turn over. Now, sometimes I turn off the steam on my iron so I don't burn my fingers. And that's only a short one, so I haven't bothered. Give it a little shot of steam. And there it is with the edges all turned under. So when I flip it over, I've got this beautiful bias stem ready to go on here. Now, that's not all. I also, when I go to put my bias stems on, because often I do applique with really long stems, I use a bit of fusible web to attach them. Now this is 5mm fusible web, which is really for 1/4 inch bias tape, but I don't do a lot of 1/2 inch bias tape makers, so I'm not going to go and buy the 10mm one. I'm just going to use a little bit of this. So this is essentially Vlisafix, your double-sided fusible webbing. If you feel it, it's sort of rough on one side, that's the gluey side, and then the paper is the papery side. So some nice person has cut this into nice strips for you, so you don't have to do it. And all I'm going to do is place it gluey side down on the wrong side of my prepared bias strip, and I carefully just iron this on the back, like so. Snip off what you don't need. And we've got a little gluey strip now, let's give it another press, on the back, like that. So this will peel off, just like your standard double-side fusible webbing does, that you would use for your applique. So when I peel that off, the glue, I don't know if you can see it, but the webbing is just stuck on the back of that. So now we have to get our bias stem onto our background fabric, which, if you remember, we have already traced on. Now I'm just going to trim the end off straight, like that. Now in this pattern, one end has a berry on it, so we don't need to tuck that end under. This end here, we're going to tuck under. Now I'm going to do that by hand, and I'll show you that in the applique video. So when I start pressing, I'm going to leave the end loose. But if it gets stuck down, it doesn't matter. You can easily just peel it off. This will hold it, but it's not really, really strong. So if you stick it down accidentally, don't worry about it. It'll all be okay. So now I'm just going to press this into position and chase it with my iron. So leaving the end free, I'm just turning it very gently. Now don't pull it and stretch it, because if you stretch it, it'll gather up your backing as well. And you don't want gathered backing. You want it nice and smooth. So just do it gently. We've pressed it on. I can cut this end off because I'm covering that with a berry. So that end can be pressed down. And I've kept this end loose because I have to tuck that end under. This one's being covered with the berry. So that is stuck on there now, like that, ready for me to slip stitch down the side with my bottom line threads. That's how you make a bias stem for your applique. Thanks for watching. Bye.